just move away from national politics, the relationship very briefly with the three of them, Reagan, Gorbachev and Thatcher.
Well, the relationship with Reagan was a bit like a sort of cheesy romance of a film. I mean, they liked complementary qualities in one another. She thought of him as the perfect American sort of cowboy actor type, and she always liked tall, well-built men with charming manners, he thought she was the perfect English lady, and it was his idea of England and her idea of America, and both were under, I think, some illusions about one another in those respects, but still it was very successful, and it was a friendship forged in adversity, which are always stronger than those forged in prosperity, because they met when she had only just become leader and he was not in office at all, 1975. And they agreed about the need for the economic recovery of the West and about the need to fight and win the Cold War, two absolutely crucial factors at the time. And so their styles were totally different, but complementary rather than contradictory. And she came into office 18 months before he did, and from then on it was a very long, successful partnership because he was in for 8 years and she was Prime Minister all the time, so it was unique actually. And it's very moving in my third volume. When he died, by the time he had asked her long ago that she would give the tribute at his funeral, which had never happened before, that a foreigner would give a tribute at the funeral of a president. And Mrs. Thatcher's own mind was declining, and she knew this, so she wrote and prepared the speech many years before and kept rehearsing it. And then when she became too ill so that she knew she wouldn't be able, or feared she might not be able to deliver the speech, she recorded it all, dressed up in funeral garb in the Institute of Directors in London, and so that it was ready in the can to be delivered at the funeral. And when Reagan did die, that's what happened, but she insisted on going to the funeral, so she had the extraordinary, odd experience of sitting in the Washington National Cathedral, watching herself on the screen, delivering the tribute to Reagan. And the Americans were very impressed by this, and also and by what she said, and also by the fact that though she was so frail, she then got on Air Force One with the Reagan family and flew right across the United States for the burial in Santa Barbara. So it was a tremendously powerful relationship expressed in that her tribute and the fact she was asked to do this. With Gorbachev, this was the logic of her winning, sort of her toughness, hers and Reagan toughness about missiles, because by installing cruise and Pershing missiles, the West had shown that they weren't going to lose the Cold War militarily, and they could bargain from strength. And she did believe in bargaining from strength rather than not bargaining. And though she was determined to bring down the Soviet system, she wanted to do it by dialogue if she could. And Gorbachev was the first person she saw in the Soviet Union with whom that might be possible. And people forget that when they met in December 1984 at Chequers for the first time, he wasn't even the leader of the Soviet Union at that point. She'd spotted him as a likely one, but he wasn't actually the leader. It was still all these geriatric people at that point. And they immediately sparked, and again it was a sort of chemistry. She loved his sparkly eyes, she said, and brown eyes, and also she loved an argument. And this Chequers discussion, which is in volume 2, is fascinating because they were almost like students arguing, a communist student and a capitalist student, sort of arguing about all the basic points about freedom and equality and wealth and poverty, and they set to it. They went on and on and on, arguing with one another, and sometimes it got quite nasty because she had some stuff up her sleeve. So he attacked her about the miners' strike, which was going on at the time, and she said, "Why are you secretly paying Arthur Scargill money?" And he said, "We're not." And the ambassador, the sort of KGB man next to him, sort of gave a slight sort of, and he was sort of caught out on that. And in fact, I've seen the order signed by Gorbachev to pay the money to the, she knew this because we had, well, our spies had found out things, but we also had a double agent in the KGB, Oleg Gordievsky, who was in the London station at the time, so he was giving us information about what Gorbachev's team were thinking about her both before and after the meeting. anyway, the relationship got off to a very good start and continued that way. And it was then she made it her mission, and indeed, less than a week after seeing Gorbachev, she flew to Camp David via Hong Kong and Peking, because she was doing the Anglo-Hong Kong Agreement. So she went round the world to try and persuade Reagan of the importance of engagement with Gorbachev, and it was a bit of a struggle, but she succeeded in that. And so the character of the shape of the Cold War did owe a lot, its shift did owe a lot to her, and it owed a lot specifically to her relationship with those two men.